Welcome, everyone. I'm Julia Fulghum. I'm the Director of Advance at UNM. And we also have Barbara Rodriguez, the Senior Vice Provost, here with us to help talk about things and answer some questions. For those of you who don't know what a Senior Vice Provost does, Barbara has all things faculty in her portfolio. So this includes everything from hiring to leaves and sabbaticals, promotion and tenure, all of the things we've been trying to do to help people during COVID-19. All things faculty. So she's always a great, yeah. Go ahead, Barbara.
All things faculty, main campus, branch campuses. I am pleased to every year be able to review dossiers that are submitted by our faculty, and I'm always blown away by what I read. So I'm really happy to be here today and see the faces that connect with my memory of the materials that you submitted.
A couple of administrative things. You're going to be deciding some of what we cover today. Which is why you didn't receive material in advance, because I'm going to talk a little bit about how you get to do more of writing your own story in this phase of your career, but we're also going to let you pick part of what we do today. So we'll post and send the slides out to you afterwards. And any questions we don't get to in chat, we'll compile all that, put it in an email to you, and also post it on the advanced site. And we'll email everyone and let you know where that's going to be. And we are going to, hopefully about 12:50, we'll be doing a poll after you've had time to hear about some things to see what's most important for you to learn about during the rest of the year. So I'm going to share my screen there we go. So I want to start by saying we're really glad you're here. You're celebrating a tremendous accomplishment in a time in which it is very difficult to celebrate things. But do know we're glad you're here, and we want you to continue to be successful. Our goal is for all of you to successfully apply for promotion to professor at some future point. And we're glad you're here and want you to be able to enjoy being here even under these constrained situations. And please do make sure you've got chat open, because we're going to be asking some questions, and you can ask questions that way. And the advanced program manager, Sandy Rodriguez, and Barbara are going to help me keep track of chat if I don't see questions. So today we're going to talk a little bit about expectations and opportunities. October 23rd is a special session that's just going to be your questions to Provost Holloway and to Senior Vice Provost Rodriguez. When I email you the slides from this, I'll send you the registration link for that one. It'll be great if you can provide us some of the questions in advance, but this is also going to be a chance to ask questions in person as well. In November, there's going to be a session with the Faculty Research Development Office on a refresher on research and scholarship resources. And let me say, when I say research or research and scholarship, please hear research, scholarship, and creative works, because I want the term to encompass all of that. And then you decide what sort of programming we create for you in the spring, and we're going to vote on that at the end of this session. This quote is one I use in a couple of different settings, and it's about science, but it's about being an academic, really. And so please hear it that way. A career in science should be an adventure on a long and winding path, rather than an uphill slog to a peak that few have ever attained. Science is about interacting with and discovering the world. So isn't it a shame that so many of us are persuaded to walk the same narrow and well-trodden path to perceived academic success. I think all of us, regardless of our area, are trying to interact with and discover different parts of the world. And something you're going to hear from us multiple times in this hour is, this is really your career now. You may feel like up until now you've made a lot of decisions based on what other people's expectations are, but you have a lot of say about how you develop your career at this point. And that's one of the really important benefits of tenure, that it's particularly hard, I think, to appreciate right now, but you own your career in ways you didn't before. Interesting. So I would like you to please go back. Put in chat 1 or 2 words that describe how you felt when you got the official letter granting you tenure and promotion to associate professor. A lot of relieved, motivated and relieved, excited, joyful, nice, tired, rich, nice, exhausted.
New opportunities.
All of those are great, and the tired and exhausted and relieved would be coming up even if you weren't experiencing this during a pandemic. Those are actually really normal. Those are the ones that we tend to see. And a lot of people at this point, even without a pandemic, are not sure what to do next. And that's really okay. And in a pandemic, it's, as this cartoon says, super okay if you don't quite know what you want this next phase of your career to look like. And something I want to encourage is give yourself space to think about it and time. This isn't a decision that has to be rushed. So I am going to stop sharing and ask these questions to you where we can see you. So I can fit everyone on my screen. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and if you can, do a thumbs up or shake your head, yes or no, however you want to respond, or respond in chat. Have you applied for a sabbatical? Lots of no's. Some yeses, lots of no's. Okay. Have you, maybe through your chair's letter about tenure, gotten excerpted feedback from external reviewers? Some yeses, some no's. Okay. Has your chair met with you and talked with you about sort of new expectations or new responsibilities, or what maybe you're interested in doing? Many more no's, a couple of yeses and a couple of sort ofs. Okay, that's helpful. And we get a chair's letter, okay. Okay, we will. Sorry, PowerPoint took over. All right, now we can do this. Okay, so keeping in mind sort of that setting, should have done this next. Going to give you a poll. So you can pick 2, or you can pick as many of these as you want. I'm going to ask you to pick 2. So what topics do you want to make sure Barbara and I cover today? And if so, please vote. You should be seeing the poll. And if there's something that the questions we just asked generated that you want to make sure we cover, put that in chat too. Okay, it looks like. All right, looks like we've got a mix here that includes all of them. Promotion planning and expectations has the most votes, and everything else is sort of split. And so what we will do is we're going to take a few minutes to talk, and Barbara's going to talk about sabbaticals. And I will take a few minutes and talk about life in the pandemic, and then we are going to talk about promotion planning and expectations. And anything we don't cover that you're interested in, we're going to vote again for other specific sections we can organize, and you can put questions in chat. Any questions before we get started? And feel free to ask questions in chat or speak up as we go. Barbara.
All right, so as Julia mentioned, part of my responsibility is to review and approve all types of leave that are afforded to the faculty via the faculty handbook policies. And one of the important policies and leave options that are that's available to you is the sabbatical leave. I encourage all of you to begin thinking about your sabbatical leave after your promotion to associate professor, the 6 continuous years of service to the university put you in the category of qualifying for sabbatical leave. One of the aspects of applying for sabbatical leave that I want to make sure that I mention is that it's critically important that you begin talking with your department chair about planning for this leave. Especially in small units, there might be a queue of faculty members who are waiting in line for their sabbatical leave period to come their way. It's important for you to get your name into that queue. There is a sabbatical leave policy form that you can find on the office.unm.edu website. If you go to the right-hand side of that website, there's a tab that's called resources, and in there, there's a form tab that you can then find the sabbatical form. It includes, as part of the application process, it includes that form. It includes a plan as to what you hope to accomplish during this sabbatical leave, either for a semester at full pay or an academic year at 2/3 pay. The most important piece also of the sabbatical leave package is how your department chair plans to manage your absence during sabbatical leave, particularly, again, important in small units. So the sabbatical plan, the current CV, the outcomes and achievements that you hope to accomplish during the sabbatical leave, an explanation of other financial compensation that you are eligible to receive through an external grant, for example. So if you plan on taking a full academic year sabbatical leave, the university pays 2/3 of your salary, but the other third of your salary can come from an external grant that you have secured. So you have a full year at full pay if you fit in that category. There is a soft deadline, and I view the deadline soft, especially now during the circumstances that we're living under. Technically, there has been a deadline for a spring sabbatical that you have to submit your materials to academic affairs by the end of September, early October. I have indicated to units in the last couple of weeks that I will receive them mid to late October. All I need is enough time to review them, and we key them into the system so that the system is updated. Same holds true for any planning that you have for the upcoming academic year. For example, in the spring, you would be applying for a fall 2021 sabbatical leave. Historically, that deadline has been mid-February, but given what we're going through, I'm very flexible on that timeline, and I'm happy to work with your department chair and your dean to get the materials pulled together and into academic affairs so that we can key things into the system and make sure things are up to date and you get your full pay or your 2/3 pay on time. Keep in mind that you have to work through the approval queue, so that does require some lead time. Your department chair is critical in this, your dean. It comes to me and then the provost and ultimately the president for final approval. We communicate that final approval to you in correspondence that's sent to you via email so that you know that you're ready to go. One of the things that has been, one of the types of inquiries that I've been receiving recently is, what do I do? I've had an approved sabbatical leave and now I can't do international travel to complete this research. Do I rescind my sabbatical leave application? How do I do that? So I, again, have remained pretty flexible in working with the department chairs, working with the deans. In any case that comes my way, I work hard to make sure that we can in fact effectuate what it is that the faculty member is requesting. If the international travel was part of the research plan, obviously the sabbatical plan can't be accomplished in the way that what they had expected. So I work with the faculty member to rescind that application and then begin planning the next time point that that plan could be implemented. We do that right up until the very last moment so that faculty members feel as though they have some flexibility and have some control over what they can do. Remember, once you take your sabbatical leave, it's another 6 years of continuous service that your next sabbatical comes around. So plan it wisely, and if you encounter a circumstance that you need some special consideration, please feel free to reach out.
So there's a question in chat. What happens if our plans for full year sabbatical are dependent on grant writing that takes place this winter or next spring? And I think Barbara just gave the answer. You've got some flexibility. You could tentatively go ahead and apply. Mm-hmm. And then Absolutely. You could retrench and do a semester rather than a year if you wanted to, or post or delay.
Mm-hmm. Could you say a little about the chair's letter? The chair's letter that accompanies the sabbatical leave request expresses the chair's support of the plan that you have put forward, the research plan, the resources that are needed. And importantly, what I look for is, how is the department chair going to cover the academic, the curricular, and service needs of the faculty member who's going on sabbatical? Those are the critical aspects of the letter that I look for in reviewing the application. Oh, the chair's letter with respect to the tenure decision. Can we hold that one until we move to the next? Thanks, Marigold. Anything else about sabbatical? You know, sabbaticals are a terrific opportunity. What I want to communicate is that it is a time for you to sit back, to rethink, to retool, to reconsider, and to catch your breath. You have just been through a very intense period preparing for your mid-pro, from mid-pro to tenure and promotion. It's a time for you to reconsider new ideas, new areas that complement your line of scholarship. Connect with other collaborators. It might be an opportunity for you to say, okay, now that textbook that I wanted to write, now's the time that I can make some significant progress on that. It gives you an opportunity to also rethink and sit back and say, okay, how do I now personally gain control of my schedule? How do I negotiate what kinds of service contributions that I want to make within the department? Am I doing a lot of service already? If I'm already doing a lot of service, how can I cut back on that? What are some things that are okay for me to say no to? Am I kind of tired of teaching the courses that I've taught over the last 5 years? What might a new graduate seminar look like? How can I prepare a proposal that might be viewed positively by the department chair and the curriculum committee? There's something different that I can offer and something new. I don't want to come back from a sabbatical where it should be a period of refresh, renewal, rethinking, retooling. And I don't want to come back to the university and be overcommitted as I step right back into the university.
And as part of being able to think about this, we just had your research, scholarship, creative work evaluated by external experts. One thing your chair can do is pull together excerpted comments from these reviews. And this isn't required, but they can do it. And most departments don't have so many cases that it's a burden. So for example, what the chemistry department chair does is pull statements that he thinks will be particularly important and then scramble them. So that like no two different statements from the same letter come from, are together. So that it's impossible to sort of tell who they did, but he picks the comments that offer constructive, forward-looking advice. In chemistry a couple of years ago, for example, an expert said, I really think this line of research is going to be a dead end, but this one's cool. They really need to be encouraged to do this. And that was really helpful. So there may be things that are helpful for you to know about, and you might be able to work with your chair and have them pull excerpts that can, particularly now when you've got a little time to think, can help you think about what your next steps or next phase might look like. And if your chair doesn't want to do this, you can talk to Barbara. As long as she isn't overwhelmed, she will find time to do it for you. But start with your chair. And your chair can also contact Barbara if they have concerns about it. If they need Barbara to tell them it's okay, she can do that.
So there's a comment in the chat box, Julia, about a sabbatical leave that had been approved spring and then during July, February, very effective in doing what the faculty member had planned to do. And then the pandemic hit and childcare and other issues came to impact the plan. Technically, that sabbatical leave semester has been taken from a process point of view. And according to the faculty handbook, yes, you have another 6-year waiting period in order for that to be accomplished, to be applied again. Here's something that I would encourage you to sit down and talk with your department chair about. Are there some internal workload adjustments that can be made to accommodate the time that you lost during the approved sabbatical leave period? Sometimes our department chairs need to feel a sense of agency in making some of those internal adjustments to accommodate, especially in these unusual times, to accommodate faculty so that they can be successful and feel as though they have had some of that time that they were looking forward to in order to accomplish those goals. Boy, I would have, hindsight is always 20/20. I would have loved to have heard from you, Emma, so that I could have supported a retraction, a formal retraction of that leave. But I'm happy to work with you going forward with your unit, with your dean, and we can see what we can do. But I think internal workload adjustments might be an appropriate approach. Any other questions about sabbatical leave? If not, I think Julia, let's see.
So let's talk a little about things you're expected to do versus things you have the opportunity to do. So you're now expected to feel more ownership in the department and the institution and take an active role, which can be defined very differently for each of you in running the department, advancing the department, contributing to the college or school and to UNM. Some of you may have already been besieged with new service responsibilities. I hope it hasn't happened quite that quickly. You are expected to take your service more seriously and to take on more substantive service roles than as an assistant professor. But one of the things we want to help you with is not having this derail you. You're expected to continue your research, your scholarly work, your creative activity, and your teaching. But now you've got additional responsibilities. Now you're supposed to evaluate your colleagues at UNM and other institutions for tenure and promotion. Most departments, people don't participate in peer evaluation of teaching until after promotion. Some departments, everyone participates. And it's part of your job now to help mentor assistant professors. If things went great for you, help it go great for them. If they didn't go great for you, help it go great for them. You know, change processes, change the support network. If you felt like you didn't get enough support, think about how can you support the people that are now coming sort of following you. And you do not have to do all of this at once. You do not have to do all of this now. A critical thing that people tend to be less aware of, they tend to be more aware of the expectations. You've got a lot of opportunities. Before tenure, it's hard to do the risky stuff, either with your scholarship or in the classroom. The things that might fail, you know, have a pretty high cost. That cost has just gone way down. You know, you can afford to try some things that might not work. You have a line of research that was too risky, go for it. You wanted to start a collaboration that's going to take a while to develop, you can do it. Want to do something in the community that, you know, really could take a long time to develop or might not develop. Now's your opportunity. You can do new things, you can try risky things. Arguably, a pandemic makes it hard to think creatively, but file this away. You know, you've got some options that you really didn't have before. You can take on leadership roles with less risk. If you really enjoy your professional community, you can do more there, and that's an expectation. And something I'm going to say multiple times, take back the parts of your life you sacrificed to get tenure. You gave up things, maybe starting in grad school, that you enjoy. Think about it and figure out how to work those things back into your life if you have dropped things you really enjoy. Even in a pandemic, this is possible. You know, we are fortunate to live in a place where all kinds of outdoor activities are safe to do. If you like music, theater, the arts, there are a lot of online events, exhibits, and things right now that you can do. If you like to cook, you know, there's fewer shortages of things. Think about what do you like doing? Getting together with friends, spending time with your family, whatever it is that you enjoyed. Now's the time to really reclaim it and bring it back into your life. And I think it's, like I said, it's really important to appreciate that you not only have new expectations, but you've got new opportunities, and it's harder to keep track of that. And that's that's something that it's important to remember and continually remind yourself. So I like this cartoon. The untenured professor, how was spring break? Good, I got a grant application finished, book review done, 3 papers submitted, an exam. The tenured professor, I went skiing in Taos. You know, you get to have your life. It's, you know, it's a little hard to do now, but you can do it, and you'll be a more effective faculty member. If you bring back, if you feel like you've really lost some quality of life, if you work on bringing that back, you'll actually be a more effective faculty member. And we want you here for the long term. So we want you to enjoy what you're doing as a faculty member, and that means enjoying what you're doing in some other parts of your life. So you can do all these things. Start new collaborations, try a new research idea, try some long-term idea that's risky, do something in the community. And logical questions to ask are, do you have to do these? Should you want to do these if you don't feel like doing these? And as you identify things that you want to do, think about what help will you need to be successful. We've got a lot of resources on this campus, even now. So as you identify places where you want to try something different, think about what help you'll need, and then ask me, ask Barbara, ask Bill Stanley, the Associate Professor for Faculty Development, go to the Center for Teaching and Learning, go to the Faculty Research Development Office, and explore what sort of help is available to you. And it is absolutely okay if you don't have the answers to these questions now. This is part of what a sabbatical can help you figure out. But this is your career now. You have to, you know, there are fewer decisions to make, particularly in terms of your research and scholarship, based on what you think other people want you to be doing. You know, give yourself flexibility and some space. It's hard to think about these things now, but think about it. You've got opportunities to sort of write your own narrative at this point in ways that you probably didn't on the path to tenure. So let's very briefly talk about something that I learned last few days, and then we'll get to promotion expectations. So there's a timeline on long-term disaster and crises response. And this is one of the models. And so the red text is mine. So we went to remote operations in March, and this initial period which is referred to as the excitement or honeymoon, was when you read about everybody doing sourdough starters and elaborate baking and, you know, doing home projects and all deciding they were going to learn new languages or write a book. Or perhaps your entire life immediately became online teaching and homeschooling, but there was an adrenaline buzz and there was sort of we're in this together. You got your promotion letter right about this part of the curve, and this is the 6-month point. There is a 6-month wall or trough in long-term disaster or crisis management where things start to feel harder, even the things you've been doing, and it gets harder to be creative, it gets harder to do the just day-to-day stuff. You may not be there, and if you're not, that's great. If you are there, know that you are not there alone. There are people all over campus, all over the community feeling this way. So I want to really emphasize this because I'm talking about you have the opportunity to be creative, you have the opportunity to make plans. It's okay if you don't have the capacity right now. It will come back. You would be kind of worn out anyway, but I want you to know you've got this opportunity, file it away for when you're ready to think about it. You don't have to be ready to think about it right now. Yeah, I'm definitely there, by the way. I started looking into it because this is me. So something to appreciate is, you know, you aren't on a timeline. You know, tenure's got a clock. Man, that clock's ticking and you can always feel it. The clock isn't ticking. And so you can you know, take a little bit of that weight off your shoulders in terms of thinking about what are the next steps are. And remember that. Everybody does have very different responses to stress and is dealing with different stressors. It is really hard to tell how individuals are doing. You know, people that are smiling may be really, really struggling and just not want anyone else to know. So give yourself permission to take really small steps. You know, start a small collaboration. Is there some small way you can help an early career faculty member? You know, can you identify something that will help the department that you were interested in doing? You know, and it's okay if you can't right now, but you know, when you're ready, small steps are fine. You don't have to take big steps. And yeah, okay, so I'm going to briefly stop sharing so that I can get to the next step. There we go. Any questions about this? I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about promotion expectations and planning. Okay, Mary Jo Daniel, the head of the Faculty Research Development Office, had this sign. I think that's where I saw it from. So the message here is you have a lot of control over where you take your work and how you spend your time. And this can be both liberating and confusing sometimes, but you know, give yourself time. There are no perfect decisions. There's no one right path. You really do get to write your own story. You want to start thinking about how are you going to define excellence for yourself. You no longer have you must be excellent in research or teaching language that is in the tenure. I'll show you the official policy, but there are a lot of different ways to do this that have lots of different variants of types of research, scholarship, service, and teaching. And so this is your story. And you want to start thinking about what story you want to be able to tell in 5 or 6 years. Advance has been doing a promotion planning workshop that helps you actually figure out how to do a promotion plan and thinking about it. We've been doing it every other year, but I think for right now, we're going to start doing it every year because there seems to be a need. So there will be one in the spring specifically to help you think through this and hear from some people who've had very, very different promotion paths and experiences. So you do not want to think about sort of minimum number of articles or chapters or accomplishments that you need. You want to think about this, and in about 2 years, you want to be in a position where you can sit down with your chair and say, okay, this is what I've done. This is what I'm planning to do. This is how I think this is going to get me to promotion to professor. Give yourself some time, but you should be working towards that sort of discussion. If you're ready sooner, that's great. If you need a little longer, that's okay too. But you should be developing with time some sort of plan. So the faculty handbook, language is pretty straightforward. Attainment of high standards in teaching, scholarly work, and service. Note that this does include service to the university or profession. Time and rank isn't a sufficient reason, and normally it's about 5 years as an associate professor. If things go spectacularly well, you can apply earlier, but that requires the support of your chair and dean. But it can be done, and that's the sort of thing you would approach Barbara about if you were thinking about it, and she could help you navigate that. People frequently meet with me and ask.
May I add something to that, Julia?
Please.
Julia and I will work collaboratively together as we consider faculty members' requests to go up for promotion early. We think about the supports that are needed. We take a preliminary look at the materials, the CV, and then we help guide the faculty member in the direction in which they will be successful in that early timeline. It is important for us to be working very carefully with the faculty member, the department, and the dean so that there's support all along the way for an early submission.
Frequently, you get a congratulations, here's a committee. So you are probably expected to have a higher service load than you had an assistant professor, although you may already be doing a lot. Service is an expectation for promotion to professor. It is looked at differently than for tenure. And we're looking for some evidence at the department, the college or university level, something professional, maybe community. You don't have to do all these at once. You don't have to be doing things with 4 different professional societies. You should pick things that are meaningful to you. We do all need to say yes to some things to make our departments and schools or colleges and the university work, but we don't have to say yes to everything. And one of my standard statements is that feigned helplessness and martyrdom do not help the department or the institution. I don't support either one. Acting like you can't do something to get out of it really puts a lot of work on your colleagues, but also it's really, really not fun to work with martyrs. So don't take on so much that you just feel like you're a slave to the department. See if you can negotiate a balance, and I can help with that, and you'll get a chance to vote on whether or not you want a session more focused on that. Don't make this process harder than it is either. We asked a bunch of department chairs, does your department expect associate professors to make big changes in their research agenda, asking new questions, developing different tools, expanding things in a new direction? And absolutely the most common answer is no. You don't have to chart brave new frontiers in this next phase of your work. You can, but you don't have to. It is not an expectation. Most departments expect a similar or perhaps higher level of work. If you're in a book field, they want another book, but some of those departments are shifting towards accepting a combination of articles and book chapters instead of a book. If you're in a science or engineering field where you're expected to have a research group and a research program, then they may expect a higher publication rate because your program's going to become more established and you're going to have a steadier stream of grad students. Everyone, we expect you to be developing sort of additional maturity in your ideas, maybe a broader perspective, but that's extremely field dependent. And your reputation and your visibility should continue to grow. But most chairs and deans said, no, once people start to develop a reputation in the field, we want them to continue working in that field. We don't want them to start from zero doing something completely different. You've got a lot of control over this, but the expectations are rational. And once again, you can do the work you decided was too risky while you were working on tenure, whether it's an experiment you're not sure is going to work, whether it's a collaboration that could take a while to develop, community work that just takes a long time to develop effectively. You can think about that. So this is a great time before you become swamped with new expectations and assignments is think about what your priorities are. Saying yes to something means you're saying no to a bunch of other things. So, give yourself permission to start to think about any new commitments you take on, whether they are service or teaching or part of your research and scholarship. Think about, okay, if I do this, what am I not doing? And that can help you sort of manage workload. I saw something years ago that has stuck with me. Academics are particularly bad about future time management because you get asked to do things like, well, that conference is in 2 years. That book chapter's due in 18 months. No problem. By then, I won't be doing X. But along the way, Y and Z work their way into your calendar because they were short-term commitments. So sure, you can do that. So we as a species are really bad at this. So just keep in mind, if you are thinking, well, that's 2 years off, that's great, I could do that. Have a meeting with your calendar first and make sure some things are really falling off that will enable you to do this. That's where that slide went. Okay, we've covered that. That's where I want to be. Skip the slide. So the overall message here is take time for you. You have absolutely earned this. Figure out how to take time for you. You've really got a lot more control of your story as, come back, a faculty member than you've had before. And give yourself time to think about that. You can try new things. If you don't feel like trying new things right now, that's fine. A lot of the rest of us don't either. But at some point you will. And know that you've got that flexibility now. So what I would like to do, and then we'll take questions for a few minutes. We want, because we can't yet, we really want to help you. And you're making this adjustment, obviously, in a difficult time. So what's important to you to know more about in future sessions? You're going to have a chance to meet with the Provost and Barbara in October, where I imagine questions about the spring, or what's the spring going to look like? What are they teaching about? And how are they thinking about the fall? Whatever you would like to ask them is on the table. But we'd also like to figure out what else is important. What would you like to know more about? And we'll work on some short focus sessions in the spring as well.
Julia, when you say peer evaluation of teaching and P&T dossiers, does that mean how to do them?
Yes.
Or
yes. So if you, it can be really intimidating the first time you're asked to review a promotion and tenure dossier for someone. So it's like, yes, if you sort of how to think about these things and participate constructively. And, oh, I should have said this. You are welcome to vote for as many of these as you want. Okay, so we've got a session on resources to support research and scholarship coming up. If that doesn't cover what people need, then we can do additional things, but I will start talking to Mary Jo about that. Service, more on promotion planning, peer evaluation. Okay, we will work with all this. If after this session you have questions, oh, I should have suggested this, or I should have asked that. Just email me. Long term. Ooh, good one, Lindsay. Okay. Lindsay's long-term research agenda planning. That's a great idea. So if you have other questions or ideas, please let us know. And I'll just say congratulations. We will keep saying that because I think you need to hear it extra times this year. And we will be in touch with, I will send you the slides. We'll send the registration link for meeting with James and Barbara, and we'll plan some other sessions. And as you have other ideas, please let us know. Barbara, do you have any closing words?
No, other than thank you for taking time on a Friday afternoon to be here. And we look forward to providing some additional support, information. And I hope you come and sit and visit with Provost Holloway and me to learn more about what we have planned, what our vision is, and to address any questions that you might have.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.